Moral stories continued. Wow, two pots. Once upon a time, there was a man who had two pots. As one was good, and it delivered full water in it, but another was cracked. For 2 years, the long walk from the stream to the master's house. The cracked pot arrived only half full. The perfect pot flaunted on his accomplishment, but the cracked pot humiliated it for his imperfection. After 2 years, the crackpot asked the man, in spite of being petty and insignificant, "Why do you carry water in me?" The man didn't reply anything. He just took both pots and showed the way from where he had been taking water for 2 years. They saw that one side of the path was barren, but another was filled with beautiful flowers. Then the man explained it was the cracked pot which watered those plants and flowers blossomed in them. The cracked pot became very happy of its accomplishment. A shapeless body can also give shape to others. Very nice. The ant and the grasshopper. One cold frosty day in the middle of the winter, the colony of ants was busy drying up some grain of corn which had been grown damp during the wet autumn weather. A half-dead grasshopper with cold and hunger came up to one of the ants and begged to give it a piece or two from the store of corn to save its life. The ant said, "We work day and night to get this corn in. Why should I give it to you? What are you doing all that summer when you should have been gathering your food?" "Oh, I don't have time for things like that," said the grasshopper. "I was far too busy singing to carry out corn." The ant laughed unkindly. "In that case, you can sing all winter as far as I am concerned," he said. And without another word, he turned back to his work. We should always be prepared for our future. The farmer and the farmland. Mr. Farmer constantly advertised to hire hands for his land along the sea coast. Most people dreaded the awful storms that raged across the ocean and denied to work on farms. After a steady stream of refusal, the farmer made a short, thin man. During the interview of the applicants, the farmer asked, "Are you a good farm hand?" Then the man only replied, "I can sleep when the wind blows." Although puzzled by his answer, the farmer, desperate for help, hired him. The farmer felt satisfied with the man working from dawn to dusk. One night, hearing a loud howl to wind, the farmer jumped from the bed, grabbed the lantern, and rushed to wake the farm hand up to tie things down before they blew away. But he didn't move. Acrimoniously, the farmer himself went to tie things. But he was amazed to see everything in its appropriate position. The farmer then understood the words said by the farm hand and confidently went to sleep. Moral: work done in advance reaps good results. Beautiful. The fox and the stork. Once a stork was invited to the dinner for a selfish fox at his home. The stork reached the fox's home and knocked at the door with her long beak. The fox welcomed her with open arms and offered to have dinner together. The fox served soup in a shallow bowl for both. As the bowl was too shallow for the stork's beak, she couldn't have any of it, but the fox licked up all the soup very quickly. The poor stork went ballistic, but remained polite and ravenous. To show retaliation against the fox, the stork also invited him to the dinner next day. This time again the soup was served, but in tall jugs. The stork devoured the soup easily, but the fox couldn't reach inside the tall jug. This time the fox remained famished. A selfish act can backfire on you. Very good. The sense lesson. A saint was once preaching to his disciples. One of the disciples asked how they could be endowed with the brilliance of creativity. The disciple meant to say, could any task performed by them make sure of their creative sense? Thereupon the saint provided a sieve to his disciples and said to fill water in the same. The disciple, after making numerous attempts, held their heads in despair. They were unsuccessful in completing the task. Then the saint took the sieve and threw it far away in water. Gradually it started sinking, and thus the sea was filled with water. Moral: a creative mind can solve any puzzle. The boy and the berries. Once a boy was playing near some hedges laden with berries that appeared ripe and juicy. His mouth watered and he licked his chops. Immediately he started gathering the berries. Just then he got stung sharply by the nettle. He started feeling pain and soon a rash appeared on his hand. Leaving the collection of berries, he ran home with tears in his eyes. He told his mother everything, sobbing hard. He said, "Mum, I touched them lightly, but they stung me hard." The mother smiled and caressing her son replied, "They stung you because you touched them lightly. You had held them firmly. Had you held them firmly, he wouldn't have hurt you. You can't get anything without facing dangers. Every rose has some thorns to protect it. So if you want berries, learn to grasp the nettles." Moral: never lose heart in adverse circumstances. The shepherd's proposal. One cool morning, a poor shepherd was grazing his cattle in the pasture. He had neither enough clothes to wear nor even a pair of shoes. Suddenly, a man came there on a horse and noticed decoy. He dismounted, went to the shepherd and said, "Come and work with me, I'll give you clothes and shoes." But the shepherd denied going with the decoy. Hearing the dacoit was baffled and started to beat him. Again the dacoit said to him, "Will you not have to worry even for your food?" And this the shepherd replied, "In spite of doing a very simple work, I can manage 2 loaves of bread for my son. I am content being a shepherd. At least I have peace of mind, which you don't have." Hearing this, the dacoit was stunned and immediately went to the police station and surrendered. Moral: peace of mind is more necessary than luxury of life. A diamond necklace. A king once presented his daughter an engagingly beautiful diamond necklace. She loved the gift and kept it in her room, but somehow it went missing. That made the king and princess perplexed. The king then announced a reward of 50,000 rupees to the one who would return it. All people along the cottage searched for the necklace but couldn't find it. A few days passed. The tailor saw the necklace in a filthy and polluted river on the way. The necklace would give him rupees 50,000. He went near the river and tried to have it, but he couldn't. The necklace was still there. This time his greed led him to jump into the river, which dirtied him from head to toe. Again he fell. That made him really rage. He was offered by a saint for help who was coming by him. The tailor unwillingly revealed the truth as a saint made him promise not to tell anyone. Now the saint showed him the necklace hanging in the branch upward. The tailor gave the necklace to the king and received 50,000 rupees. Moral: surrounding knowledge also produces result. United we stand, divided we fall. A father had a family of sons who were perpetually quarreling among themselves. When he felt to hear their disputes by his exhortations, he determined to give them a practical illustration of the evils of disunion. For this purpose, he one day told them to bring a bundle of sticks. When they had done so, he placed the fagot into the hands of each of them in succession and ordered them to break it into pieces. They tried with all their strength and were not able to do it. Next, he opened the fagot, took the sticks separately one by one, and again put them into their sons' hands, which they broke easily. He then addressed them in these words: "My sons, if you are of one mind and unite to assist one and other, you will be as this fagot, uninjured by all the attempts of your enemies. But if you are divided among yourselves, you will be broken as easily as these sticks." Moral: there is strength in unity. The man in the cocoon of butterfly. Once a man saw a small opening appearing on the cocoon of the butterfly. He sat and watched the butterfly for several hours as it struggled to force his body through the little hole. Then it seemed to stop making any progress. It appeared as if it had made as far as it could, and it could go no farther. Then the man decided to help the butterfly, so he took a pair of scissors and snipped off the remaining bit of the cocoon. The butterfly then emerged easily, but it had a swollen body and small shriveled wings. The man had thought to help it and expected to be everything good, but the butterfly spent the rest of his life crawling around with a swollen body and shriveled wings. It could never fly. Actually, he benignly opened the path of progress, but restricted nature's process for the cocoon to struggle. Moral: struggle nurtures our efficiency and potentials. The merchant and his foolish donkey. One beautiful spring morning, a merchant loaded his donkey with the bags of salt to go to the market in order to sell them. The merchant and his donkey were walking along together. They had not walked far when they reached the river. On the road, Unfortunately, the donkey slipped and fell into the river and noticed that the bags of salt loaded on his back became lighter. There was nothing the merchant could do except return home, where he loaded his donkey with more bags of salt. As they reached the slippery river bank, now deliberately the donkey fell into the river and wasted all the bags of salt on his back again. The merchant quickly discovered the donkey's strength. He then returned home again, but reloaded his donkey with bags of sponges. The foolish, sticky, tricky donkey again set on his way. On reaching the river, he again fell into the water, but instead the load becoming lighter, it became heavier. Moral: we should not pretend cunning nature can harm you. Wow. The teacher and the boy. Who did it? A teacher was asking the class again and again, but she couldn't get the answer. Teacher again asked, who did it? Covering his steps again, she got nothing. After some time, the head boy, collecting courage, raised his hand and confessed his fault. Hesitantly, he said, yes, madam, I have broken the glass, but not deliberately, and I want to atone for my fault. Please pardon me. By hearing this, the teacher didn't say anything. She went to the library and bought a book and gave to the boy by saying, I am giving you this book as reward not for breaking the glass, but for accepting your fault. And I am glad to see that my labor of nurturing good habits in you has worked. Moral: honesty can reform the mistake. Beautiful. The casket with gems. In village Rampur, a decrepit lady lamented his dead husband. In the beginning, her two sons showed compassion for her, but soon got disenchanted with their mother. Now the pathetic condition of her life made her to go to her friend Sheila, whom she related all her problems of not even getting proper diet in her own house. The shrewd woman willfully showed her a way by which she would be dominating in her house, and gave her a mistress casket full of gems. When the widow reached her house, she had given more attention. Both her sons asked about the casket in her hand. She replied the casket was given by her husband in his declining days. He was filled with precious stone and gems. Now their eyes for the casket made them too caring for the lady. In due course, they used to ask for the key of the casket, but she ignored by saying that it must be given to them one day. The lady was grappled with the disease and died. After funeral, the sons broke the casket and found it filled with stones, gravel, etc. Great gifts, nothing. Aha! Cats and roosters. Long ago in Africa, cats were ruled by roosters, where cats had to collect food for the king, roosters for the sake of their lives. If someone dared to disobey the king, he would have given an iron worm's burn as a punishment. So all the cats were petrified of the hot comb. All cats had to work hard for gathering food. One day, Mrs. Cat got a chance to enter and observe the judge and take home of the king rooster when he was found fast asleep. Mrs. Cat wanted to know the secret of the hotness of that comb, so she tested timidity. She was astounded to feel it because it was of normal temperature. Now she understood the trick of the roosters. No longer afraid, the cats paraded there. All the cooks ran away to see the cats. Trick never persists for long. Tricks never persist for long. Cause of grief. Once there lived a rich man with his royal servant. The man was always rejoiced because of the royal and meticulous attitude of the servant. One evening, the man was shocked to see the broken watch of his room. He called his servant and angrily asked the reason for that. The servant replied that in order to clean the room, the watch inadvertently slipped from his hands and parted in many pieces. The man loved him so much that he could not scold him. Morning passed, but night was impassable for the merchant. His penchant for that watch led him not to sleep, but the servant had a sound sleep, which made a man infuriated. Next day, the man told the servant that he was so rich because the very watch he wanted to gift him for his diligence was unfortunately it was broken by him. Had it been safe, it would have been his. This statement now laid the servant not to sleep, and the man was now in great succor. Moral: tension for possession causes grief. Cherries in mud. One day, While walking down the road, father said to his son, "Look, a horseshoe is lying in the mud. Pick it up." The son said, "I hate to pick up things from mud." The father picked up the horseshoe and kept it in his pocket. On reaching the village, he sold the horseshoe and bought some cherries. Father understood the desire of his son and dropped his cherry on the ground. The son picked it up, washed it, and ate it up. Then father said to him, "Sometimes even small things cost much. These cherries are here because of that horseshoe that you refused to pick up from the mud." The son understood what his father meant. Moral: little things cost much. The cloud and the farmer. Once a saint predicted that it would not rain for 7 years. When a simple farmer heard the news, he took his plough and kept it home and thought, if it would not rain for 7 years, then it is not necessary to irrigate the field. He sat 3 days at home with no work, but on the fourth day he felt bored. He thought, if I would not irrigate the field, I will forget the use of plough. Thinking this, he took his plough and went to irrigate his field. Now he was happy that he would practice irrigation in spite of no rain. Then he saw a cloud while working, but he didn't like to see it. Suddenly, the cloud called farmer and said, "Oh, foolish farmer, it has been predicted that it would not rain for 7 years. Why are you wasting your time in the field? We would not come as rain." Then the farmer replied that he was baffled to think that if he would not use the plough in irrigation, he might forget the use. Hearing this, the cloud thought that the farmer is right. If I would also not go as rain on earth, I will also forget my work. From that day on, it started raining. Moral: we should never lose hope. The cows and the lion. In a green and fresh pasture, there lived 3 crows, a white, a black, and a brown cow. They were kind to one another, always guests together. One day the ravenous lion came to devour them all, but couldn't because of their company. But the lion made a policy to divide and rule and visited them. He said that he remembered them a lot to know about their health. The brown cow, being so gentle, was entangled in his trap and accepted the lion's friendship. Next day the lion secretly called the brown cow and said that the color of his body was dark like the black cow, but the white cow didn't match with them, so it was better to kill him. The brown cow agreed and kept the black cow immersed in gossips. Meanwhile, the lion killed the white cow. After a few days, the lion attacked and demolished the black cow. A few days later, the lion killed the brown cow and ate her mercilessly. Never cheat good friends. The Decor and the Fish. Once upon a time, in Arabian city, an atrocious Decor lived with his enormous soldiers. A deplorable atmosphere pervaded with his presence when he used to pass any village of Arabian city, because he brutally snatched all the valuable things with money and from villagers. He committed such crimes daily, but at the end of the day, he daily used to go to the pond near by his castle and gave the loaves of bread to fish. One day he got an injury which led to his death. Now his soul was being taken to hell by his merciless acts. Suddenly an angel of God said, no matter he made villagers' life terrible, but on the other hand he had made the fish, so he must be given more life for living. After that he left his devastating act forever. Moral: sin can be pulverized by humanity and nobility. Good? The diamond stone. Once in a forest, a washerman was going with his donkey hanging a stone in his neck. A jeweler on his way got his eyes on the stone. He recognized the stone as a diamond, but the washerman, not acquainted with the fact, got surprised to know that the jeweler wanted to buy the stone. The washerman demanded 1 rupee for the stone, but the jeweler refused and went ahead. Again the washerman met another jeweler who also recognized the stone to be a diamond and showed his attention to buy it. The amazed washerman priced it 2 rupees. The second jeweler nodded his head and gave him 2 rupees for the stone and took it. Meanwhile, the first jeweler came back to him, panting heavily, and offered 1 rupee for the stone, but soon turned pale to know that the stone had already been sold. Then he relieved that the ordinary stone was actually a diamond and addressed the washerman foolish. Thereupon the washerman said, "You are more foolish than I. Opportunities seldom come." Distance. Once upon a time, it rained heavily for several days, resulting in floods. Many houses collapsed and household articles got carried away with the flood water. As a matter of fact, two pitchers were also carried away by the following time. One of them was made of brass, the other of baked clay. The brass pitcher was so strong that it could not be tossed against anything, but the clay pitcher was in ever-present danger of being broken if it got stuck against something. The clay pitcher was alarmed by danger. The brass pitcher looked at it and said, "Brother, be close to me. I shall protect you in every way." The clay pitcher thought wisely and retorted, "Brother, it would surely be worse for me if we come closer. If I keep a distance from you, I may float to safety." So the clay pitcher stood away from the brass pitcher and safely reached the shore. Little distance enhances love. Effect of voice. Once a guru sent to a forest in a search of remedy. A hunter had also gone there for hunting animals, and a soldier also arrived there. All of three were thirsty. They saw a hut in the forest in which a blind man was sitting. The hunter went there and said, "Oh, blind man, make me a drink of water, otherwise your pot of water would be broken by me." The blind man didn't give water to him and moved him away. Then the soldier came to him and said, "Oh, blind man, give me the water and take anything you want." Hearing this, the man got angry and moved away as well. The guru went to the blind man and addressed him politely and very humbly asked for water. Hearing a very gentle voice, the man said, "I have become satisfied that you arrived in my hut. Take and drink water." After drinking water, the guru told me, "When a hunter and a soldier came and asked water, you denied. But when I came and asked water, you gave water. Why is it so?" Then the blind man replied that it all happened upon the voice of a person. Voice should be humble and gentle. No wonder we are trying our very best to develop a beautiful voice to share these stories with all. Hopefully we'll succeed in bringing you joy and happiness. Family. A cute son was desperately waiting for his dad, who got late from office and was exasperated due to some problem. No sooner had he opened the door for his dad than he started showering questions upon his income. It infuriated father much more, and he replied it was none of his business. But again the child asked how much money he made in an hour. Father angrily replied, $20. The son now demanded for his 1 hour earning. $20? Father said, "You are brought every toy and chocolate you need. How dare you ask me for money?" He rebuked him. He soon realized his mistake of being harsh to his delicate child. So he gave him $10, but the child had already $10. Again, that agitated father. But the son soothingly pacified him by saying, "Here is $20. Now I can buy an hour of your time. Please come home early tomorrow so that we may have dinner with you." Spending time with family enhances love. Wow, wow. The farmer's cat. A farmer had some cats to sell. He was hanging a board for advertisement. There came a little boy to buy a cat that was not avoided by saying that the cost of the cat was too exorbitant to afford for him. The boy delved hard into his pocket to take out the money and gave it to the farmer. The farmer took the boy to a room where all the cats were kept. The boy was given a beautiful cat. But soon the boy noticed the disabled cat and decided to choose that cat. On asking that why he chose that cat, he replied, "You see, sir, I don't run too well myself, and he will need someone who can understand him. The world is full of people who need someone who understands." Beautiful. The world is full of people who need someone who understands. God's company. Once two friends were passing through a forest. Now it was time of namaz. So they both decided to offer namaz. When both were busy in prayers, they heard the roar of lion. The first friend got frightened and climbed on a tree, but the second friend kept praying. The lion came there and gazed at him and the first friend, but did not do anything and went from there. Then both friends went ahead. Suddenly the second friend slapped himself on the cheek in order to kill a mosquito. Then the first friend observed that when a lion had come during prayers, he didn't move, but now he got scared of a small mosquito. Then the second friend replied, "This time I was with God and now I'm with a person." God's company always makes fearless. Beautiful. The Wise Boy and the Merchant. Okay, now. All right, I love you, God. Love you all. Waheguru, 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 Waheguru. Moral stories continued. Wow, two pots. Once upon a time, there was a man who had two pots. As one was good, it delivered full water, and but another was cracked. For 2 years, the long walk from the stream to the master's house. The cracked pot arrived only half full. The perfect pot flaunted on his accomplishment, but the cracked pot humiliated it for his imperfection. After 2 years, the crackpot asked the man, in spite of being petty and insignificant, "Why do you carry water in me?" The man didn't reply anything. He just took both pots and showed the way from where he had been taking water for 2 years. They saw that one side of the path was barren, but another was filled with beautiful flowers. Then the man explained, it was the cracked pot which watered those plants and flowers blossomed in them. The cracked pot became very happy of its accomplishment. A shapeless body can also give shape to others. Very nice. The ant and the grasshopper. One cold frosty day in the middle of the winter, the colony of ants was busy drying up some grain of corn which had been grown damp during the wet autumn weather. A half-dead grasshopper with cold and hunger came up to one of the ants and begged to give it a piece or two from the store of corn to save its life. The ant said, "We work day and night to get this corn in. Why should I give it to you? What are you doing all that summer when you should have been gathering your food?" "Oh, I don't have time for things like that," said the grasshopper. "I was far too busy singing to carry out corn." The ant laughed unkindly. "In that case, you can sing all winter as far as I am concerned," he said. And without another word, he turned back to his work. We should always be prepared for our future. The farmer and the farmland. Mr. Farmer constantly advertised to hire hands for his land along the sea coast. Most people dreaded the awful storms that raged across the ocean and denied to work on farms. After a steady stream of refusal, the farmer made a short, thin man. During the interview of the applicants, the farmer asked, "Are you a good farm hand?" Then the man only replied, "I can sleep when the wind blows." Although puzzled by his answer, the farmer, desperate for help, hired him. The farmer felt satisfied with the man working from dawn to dusk. One night, hearing a loud howl to wind, the farmer jumped from the bed, grabbed the lantern, and rushed to wake the farm hand up to tie things down before they blew away. But he didn't move. Acrimoniously, the farmer himself went to tie things. But he was amazed to see everything in its appropriate position. The farmer then understood the words said by the farm hand and confidently went to sleep. Moral: work done in advance reaps good results. Beautiful. The fox and the stork. Once a stork was invited to the dinner for a selfish fox at his home. The stork reached the fox's home and knocked at the door with her long beak. The fox welcomed her with open arms and offered to have dinner together. The fox served soup in a shallow bowl for bowl. As the bowl was too shallow for the stork's beak, she couldn't have any of it, but the fox licked up all the soup very quickly. The poor stork went ballistic but remained